Welcome everybody to the 34th edition of the Deserve to Win podcast. I'm here, Eric J. Trotman, the czar of the TCPA, very tired, along with my very tired team. Why are we so tired? Because we just threw the most incredible law conference that has ever happened in the history of the world. I can say that without question, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that we just put on the best law conference in history. And we're going to break it down. We're going to spend an hour together. This is the primary crew, although Angelica and Blake, who are both hosting, and Jen, who had her own panel that she moderated. Unfortunately, they can't join us, but this is the core team that was so involved. And let's just do real quick introductions. We're going to start all the way downtown with you, Yasmin. Take the little fuzzy microphone and introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are.
Hi, my name is Yasmin. I'm a senior legal secretary here at Trotman, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And literally the most talented singer in the world, which is what we're going to get to. We're going to get to that. Next to her, who do we have?
Hi, I'm Danny, executive assistant, personal assistant to Pujani.
And the greatest showrunner in the history of the world, who worked like literally 110 hours a week before Law Conference of Champions to get this thing put together. You are a miracle worker and a goddess, and we're so happy to have you. And next to you.
Hi guys, my name is Brittany, also known as the Baroness, and I'm a partner here at Trotman.
My incredible partner, Brittany, and next to me.
Hello guys, it's Pooja Amin, Queenie, TCPA World, I flood that one, partner at Trotman and your host of that infamous Shark Tank panel.
Oh my God. Highest rated panel for sure. We're going to talk about that here. Tori?
Hi, I'm Tori Guidry, aka The Dame. I am an attorney at Trotman and also the AI attorney over here.
And last but not least.
Hi, I'm Tamanna, a law clerk here at Trotman and the host of the virtual option presented by Caller ID Reputation, along with Blake, who we are missing right now.
Absolutely unbelievable. So we're going to just go through this chronologically because it was just the most incredible show. And again, this is a very unusual format for Deserve to Win. Normally, there's four of us, we have a guest, we talk through TCPA developments. None of that today. Today, you're just going to hear from like kind of the behind-the-scenes look, kind of the nitty-gritty, what we loved, what we hated. Was there anything we hated? I don't know. And we're just going to kind of go through the show. At a high level, let me just start by saying I am so incredibly impressed with this team. We're lawyers and legal professionals. We don't have a production facility. We don't have folks that put on or throw shows. We have legal staff. And we just delivered a better product and show than I've ever seen. I mean, I go to conferences all the time. I'm on stages across the country. And this was, in my opinion, from a production value standpoint, from a quality of content standpoint, from a quality of user experience, the quality of the food, just every single thing, I believe, was superior to anything I've seen anywhere. So we knocked it out of the park, not on like one or two metrics, but I believe on every single metric. And we did that through the commitment of Trotman and through the commitment of every one of the people that you're looking at, and literally every single employee at Trotman had a hand in making this work. But let's go through the show. Let's start with setup. I mean, what did you guys think of the experience of taking that conference room bare and naked and addressing it and adorning it and turning it into the thing of beauty? Anyone wants to just jump in? Like, what did you guys think about that whole process? Yeah, Danny,
Well, I just have to say that it was really hard only because this is my first Law Conference of Champions. So when you say make it look like last year but better, I have no idea what that means, but we figured it out somehow.
That pretty much was right. Make it look like last year but better. That's pretty much what I said.
So we're like, yeah, sure.
But no, so the backdrop was awesome. We went through a bunch of iterations on that backdrop. Let's just kind of go through the things, like the set pieces, because people are very curious about this. We went through a lot of iterations to get the backdrop. We had one that had like all 5 of us. We had one that had like 10 people. One that had like 3 of us. And then we ended up just like with me and Pooja on that backdrop. What do you think?
Because I was seeing the iterations of the backdrop, and I love what we landed on just because visually I think it was aesthetically pleasing. Like there wasn't too many faces on there, and Eric and Pooja were still prominent on the stage, so everywhere you were on the stage you could see them, but it didn't look busy. It looked sophisticated, it looked clean and sharp, and I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I was making like a dumb face on it though, right? So that's the other thing. There's like a bunch of prop bets going into this conference, right? One was how many times I would make fun of my own face on that stage. Did you guys see this thing? It was the worst picture you could have used of me, but that's okay. And like what I love is that there was a different version, and like she ran by the different version, and then the one she used was like me going like. It was great. It was fantastic.
One more time.
Yeah, you caught it.
I thought you guys have seen the story posted on LinkedIn
Yes.
of Eric in front of
Yes.
his picture doing the
Oh, so
exact
good.
same pose. It
Exact
was
same
so
face.
funny.
Yeah, of course, because I was like, what? I don't look like that. And then, of course, I did it again. So thanks for that. Other prop bets that did not pay. I never mentioned Tori being a redhead now, which is crazy. You would think I would have led with that. I never actually mentioned Jeremy Gladstone being the kingmaker. There was like a bunch of these prop bets that just didn't hit. But anyway, so the backdrop was fantastic. And then we had that big stupid thing. Where did that big stupid thing come from? Everybody loved it. It was like the highlight of the show. No, you know the big stupid thing with the conference logo.
The banners?
No, the sign that lit up.
The little sign.
On the stage.
Oh.
Yeah, so what's the story there?
A 100-pound sign.
Yeah, you just said you wanted something cool to put on the stage.
So we came up with that.
Came up with that.
But you see how these have credit for being a genius, and I'm just like, I want something big on the stage, make it look cool. Like, oh,
You mean
okay.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
They took you that long.
Signs, I can't.
Yeah. Brittany's a real speedster.
So
Yeah.
the first version of the design was significantly smaller, and he saw it and he was like, I want it bigger. And it got 2 feet bigger than it originally was designed.
So we got the sign. Well, I saw the mock-up of the sign. I thought this was amazing. And then the second question was, well, how much, right? And Danny's like, it was approved. Eric approved it. Like, okay, let's run with it. Then the next issue I had was, how heavy is this thing going to be? For most of you guys knows, we have majority females working at this law firm, okay, including our wonderful legal staff, right? And so, like, how the hell are we going to get this thing from our 15th floor of our office down there across the street to the Marriott? And Danny, Celia told me, she's like, Danny has a plan. I'm like, all right, Danny has a plan. That's all I need. And sure enough, somehow that got from our office all the way to Marriott onto the stage. So kudos to whoever worked on that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and maybe we should even go back further in time, because of course we've been planning this for months, as you can tell. Like, you're going to be hearing us talk about things that we have been in the design process, the execution process, literally since February, right? So this was a 5-month effort, but everybody flew in Friday. I mean, I'm not sure if viewers know that. The entire firm flew in Friday night, we had a game night Friday night, and then Saturday morning, bright and early, every single member of this firm was gathered in our conference room, and we went through every single nook and cranny of the show, mapped it out, did a complete roadmap, did a table read essentially, and put together the logistics for how we're going to take. I mean, it's not like the space shuttle or something, but there's probably like 100,000 individual objects that go from here at our storage facility over into this Marriott location. And by the way, it had to be set up in an hour and a half. The reason for that is because we just have to play the game on God level, right? Like, in addition to being a law firm that throws a world-class conference, we're a law firm that throws a world-class conference and decides to do a website video shoot on the same day. So everybody had to be out of there by noon for hair and makeup to get back here for the big studio shoot, which had to wrap up exactly in time to get back, to get changed for the happy hour, which started at 4 p.m. on Sunday. So that's how we lived behind the scenes. What did that look like? Like, what was the pacing, ladies?
Chaotic.
Hectic.
Fear of Eric Trump and asking, where are you?
You know, I didn't get to complete the sentence.
I know, well, there you go. That's what it felt like. There you go, we finished it. That's exactly how it felt like.
But no, it was amazing because we took that, and then we get there, and what happened? What's the first thing Eric Troutman sees when he walks in Sunday morning on this 1 hour and a half, super tight timetable to set everything up? What do I see?
Sure.
The lack of stage.
The stage is the wrong damn size! The entire room's set up wrong! We've got a production team, 14 people in the technical production team, about to set up these giant light towers, a 4-camera format, which those of you that were on the virtual option enjoyed. And the stage is the wrong size. We can't put anything on the stage. We can't set any of the marks, because of course we have to rehearse this thing. We have to know everyone's supposed to be standing. We have to get the camera set. We have to, most importantly, get the light set. But the stage is the wrong size. You can't do any of that until the stage is properly set and centered. And so, was I losing it? Surprise my behavior at that time.
Yes.
Danny said, oh, no problem, this is an easy fix. Eric said, no, I want to make this a disaster.
Yeah, and then he comes to follow me around to ask me, what's Danny's plan? Does Danny have a plan? What's Danny doing? So I'm following Danny around asking Danny, and Danny's trying to find the thing. At one point I'm like, I'm serious because I have payroll to run.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna this Pooja goes and runs payroll, because again, the entire firm is there, okay? Like, there's nobody that's secretly in the back working, okay? No, we're all there. Yeah, so it's a good point. Like, basically, I identify the problem, demand a solution of the problem, and then spend as much time as I can making the problem worse.
Sounds right.
Which is pretty much how it works around here. But like, I do identify the problem, so there is that. So eventually, the stage gets set properly. I'm like driving around this little motorized vacuum at that point. But we're doing.
Reach table.
Right.
We also have the sprinting. So this is when we're doing the sprints, because we're just waiting. We're waiting for the stage to get set up, right? And so we're just sprinting. And like, I'm trying to like get my mind off of how freaked out, really, I guess I am, that like our little tiny window to set this up is diminishing. But the teams actually, they set to work, they get all the swag bags together, they set up the front, we make use of the time to do the things that we can do, focus on the controllables, as Robert Taylor would later say. And eventually, though, they do get everything set up, in the production team, and everything ends up going marvelously. So the setup was chaotic and hectic and way more stressful than I was hoping it was going to be. And even like late that night at like 1 in the morning, I'm like sending text messages to Danny, and Danny is responding at 1 o'clock in the morning the night before the show. Yeah, no sleep allowed during one of these events. But so we get through the setup. Anything else anybody wants to add on the
Well,
setup?
let's not forget the fact that Steven beat you in a series of sprint running across the hallway.
Well, dude,
There is that.
I'm a 47-year-old man, and he's a 28-year-old stud. I mean, like, the fact
Right, but
that
you compare yourself to God often,
That's not
so
true. No, I never compare myself to the literal God, capital G. I do say sometimes I might be a God, lowercase g. Those are two very different things. Anything else? Going once? Going twice? Tell me, what was your experience setting up?
It was kind of crazy. I feel like a lot of it was spent with like you taking me and Blake through our cues.
Oh, that's right.
Because I feel like neither of us fully understood what we were actually going to be doing until maybe Saturday.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like this show was rehearsed. Like I ran through every element of it with every single player, right? So that's a really good point, Tama. So you and Blake, like we blocked at blocking in the industry is what you call movements, right? That they were supposed to take, and exactly when they're supposed to open the camera, where it's supposed to go, and we mapped this entire thing out. Like it might have looked accidental somehow, but if it did, that means that we did a good job with rehearsal. So we walked that entire thing through. We did that for every single one of the panels and the moderators, and of course with Angelica, who was hosting the entire thing as the MC and did an incredible job. But also for the big musical number, which of course we're going to get to. And there's some behind the scenes footage, we actually have a lot more of that. We drilled that thing over and over and over again, because if we were going to hit one thing, I'll put it this way, if you're going to not miss on one thing that entire show, you cannot miss on the random, unexpected, inserted opera piece, okay? Like, you have to hit that, because otherwise people are going to be laughing at you forever. If you hit it, now you're a pro, and it turns out we hit it. All right, so let's get to the actual day of the show, all right? So as we have this set up in the run of show, everybody's down there except for Pooja, myself, and Brittany, right? We are maintaining our mystique. We're back in the hotel room and letting everybody else kind of set things up and get running. We're gonna make our big entrance, but not until 9 a.m. A world of work takes place between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., right? Everybody has to get checked in, the breakfast has to be served, people have to finalize their setups, and of course, 8:30 on the nose, Tama and Blake are going to lead us off, right? Like, it's interesting to think we've got two basically first-year attorneys, right? Tama is technically still a law clerk; she's passed the bar, she's pending admission. Two basically first-year attorneys now are kicking off this, like, I mean, you guys know how much we spent on this, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Are now riding on this show, and Tamina and Blake are kicking the whole thing off. What was that like?
I didn't say that to us No, I was so nervous, I think 5 or 10 minutes before going on. I'm super, super glad I had Blake with me, because I think he did a really good job of like basically breaking the ice with everyone before we got started. So we tried to go and meet. We obviously met with the camera crew, explained to them in detail what time we were going to be meeting them, where. because they weren't going to be following us around the entire time. You know, so we had to meet at specific places during the break, specific places for our sponsor interviews. So we went through all of that with them. We went and met all our sponsors and told them we're going to be interviewing you at this time at this place. We had to make sure they'd actually be there, which at one point some of them weren't there. Quite a bit of improv.
No spoilers.
So I think we were really nervous about 10 minutes before the show, 5 minutes before the show, but I feel like as soon as the camera went on, it was just like we were
There it is.
just go, 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 in character. I think it went well. I feel like Amazon, both of us, just sort of embodied what we were supposed to be doing in that moment, and we didn't really get in our heads about it too much, which I'm pretty impressed by myself.
Yeah. And because, Tom, because you're a killer, is why. Now, people ask us all the time, people think, how many times, and you guys heard, how many times at this conference has somebody asked me, how do you hire people like these? How do you hire people like these? And I tell everybody, it's true. I hire killers. I don't hire regular people. I don't look at your resume and say, oh, do you have good experience? Like, I don't care. Are you a killer? Do you want to be with elite people? Are you capable of elite performances? Yes or no? And what you just said is it's very impactful, and people need to understand this. Like, I used to be, you guys know this, I had my own talk show. I was a teenager, I was 17 years old. I had a live talk show. Thank God this is before digital, so none of this existed. But I'm telling you right now, there is nothing like being in a darkened studio and see that red tally light go on. And it is live, and it is on you. And there's no one gonna talk, it's you. And there's no one there to save you. So you gotta deliver. And Tom, you got to have that experience, and guess what? You delivered, and it was wonderful. But now, there was a moment of chaos and panic and frustration, because those of you that watched the virtual option, you know the first 30 seconds, what happened? There was an audio feed, but there was no video feed. And do you think Eric Troutman was freaking out? When you thought he was freaking out?
Lots of bad words.
Was Eric Troutman was I being a polite, civilized human being for those 30 seconds?
No comment.
That way though.
Well, last year I was literally breaking things because it started 15 minutes late, and you guys should have seen my hotel room. I mean, like, I was literally trashing the place because I was so pissed off. I'm a very normal person, and it's great to work for me most of the time. But like, when we put a lot of work into something and it doesn't get delivered on, I lose my mind. And so for about 30 seconds there, I was absolutely losing my mind. But Danny, calm, cool, collected, handles it. I'm not even sure how you handled it. What's the solution there? Like, what happened?
I just went my little thing and said, cue the virtual camera. They weren't paying attention in the front of the house.
Oh my God, those guys are gonna pay for that 30 seconds of my life. Okay, so we got it up and running, and when it did, I mean, honestly, you guys that were watching virtually, tremendous. Like, there are not enough superfluous. There are not enough good words that I can say. What's that word? Superlatives. I'm just confused. Superfluous and superlative. That is not like Eric Troutman. But there are not enough positive things that I can say about that performance. It completely blew me away. And I guess since you talked about it, we'll talk about it. I wanted to go chronologically. But there was a moment during the lunch break. And of course, during lunch, we were huddled up, the partners were huddled up in the room again, watching the virtual. And apparently just one of the sponsors just didn't show up for their segment. And so here is Tamina and Blake just making stuff up, just happening. So, what about when we were at the holiday party? Oh yeah, that was just the greatest thing. And they just went for like 20 minutes straight, talking about the firm and their history and their experience. And it was so positive and so brilliantly executed that I swear to God, it almost came across like as overly scripted and cheesy, because you guys were just like, you had such great chemistry. It was like boom, 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 and you just kept picking up off each other. It was amazing. I mean, as a performer, as a guy that did live television, that was one of the most impressive things I think I have ever seen in my entire life, and it was your first run at it. So, speaking of impressive, so now it gets to be about, and again, we drilled this, I was very, very strict on time. Everything is in its place, right? People have actually gotten to their seats around 9, which was great. Tamina and Blake have hit their mark, they've executed. The handoff went seamlessly to Angelica. But now we've got a mistake, the first mistake of the show, which is, according to the run of show, at 9:03 precisely, Angelica was supposed to hand this off for the doors to open and for us to make our intros. I'm sitting back there in our spot, right? We've hit our mark. It's 9:04. And I'm like, what is happening, right? And so the doors are kind of half opening and half closing because different people are trying to execute. But Angelica, who's the showmaster at that point, right? She's not throwing it back to us. She's just up there. Yeah, so at any point we're gonna start the show soon because nobody has cued Angelica. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, Angelica talked about that to me a little bit, and she said she had no idea whether or not you guys were back there. So
Right,
she was
because
just
Danny,
waiting for a
now we're
flag
gonna look
or
at Danny,
something.
was supposed to cue Angelica. We're just gonna out Danny. Danny was supposed to cue Angelica, but for some
standing
reason,
there and she just said, I couldn't see you. And I was like, well, I didn't consider the fact that I'm way in the back and I'm one of the shortest people in the room.
It was hard to see.
So she's like, I
getting
didn't
on
see
stage.
you back there, so I
Yep.
didn't know if I should go.
so
The lighting.
it's not just the lighting. And so this is like how the rehearsal versus reality can sometimes be a problem because you have to take into account the unforeseeable. Here's something unforeseeable. That room was flippin' packed. And there was a bunch of people standing because they hadn't gotten to their seats yet. So when you are looking back in your field of vision, which is what Angelica was doing from the stage, which by the way, blinding lights hitting you, and you're trying to find a single individual giving you some kind of a verbal cue or a visual cue, she couldn't find Danny. So of course I'm like, Danny, you should have jumped up and down, slammed stuff around, done something. But the bottom line is, nobody cued Angelica sufficient to have her cue the people opening the door. So it was like a minute and a half of her rambling to start the show, which I did not love. I did not love. But luckily, at some point, I'm not even sure how, the doors open, we start entering, they hit the ridge against the machine, and that part was sick. I mean, how did you guys think? I know.
Tori's like, I was in it, so it was just good.
Okay, well,
I think
it
honestly
was fine. It was great.
perfect song.
No problem. It was fine.
It was a great song. Yeah, it was a great song.
So the throw shows talked to me afterwards, and they were like, that was the most incredible entrance that they'd ever seen at a show. Of course, according to Tori, it's just
Fabulous.
no. You said good. Very dismissive sort of way. That makes me wonder why I'm happy to be here on this show right now. But anybody else have any thoughts on the entrance?
I'll say something being a part of the entrance is that, like you, didn't know what to expect as far as the turnout went, so I didn't know if it was going to be more than the people that were going to be there last year or less than the people last year. So when the doors opened and I saw so many people, butts and chairs, I felt all the energy in the room. It felt like incredible kind of walking in there and everybody just so happy to see us, seeing all your friends and familiar faces out there. Like it really was a really cool moment walking in.
Yeah, it felt really, really good. And Pooja, you were kind of questioning the use of Rage Against the Machine for that entrance.
I was.
And how do you think it turned out?
It was a fantastic choice. I can't imagine you picking another song choice.
What?
I couldn't have pictured myself as hyped up as I was with another song. And honestly, like, because I envisioned myself, I listened to the song, and once you sent it, and I just couldn't get there. But it was the song in conjunction with the crowd. It was, Jen's smiling face right there, standing up, cheering us on. It was seeing Danny with her little mic, next to her ear, Angelica in that fantastic sequin silver blazer shining. And that was the coolest moment, right? Just seeing everything come together initially was what hyped everything up, and the song was like the cherry on the top.
That is really well said. Or as Tori said,
I said it's absolutely fabulous, and I will say, the Rage Against the Machine playing as soon as you guys walked in was just absolute perfection. Absolute
Some
perfection.
folks told me that song choice was great. That was Eric, wasn't it? I was like, absolutely. Otherwise, you'd be having like
All
Taylor
the song
Swift
choice.
playing in the
I
background.
was running production in the background actually, and I was sitting there, and I was with these other guys in production. I was like, do I cut off the mic on Angelica? Like, where are they right now? And then I was like, you know what? They finally, you guys, I saw you guys, and I was like, cue the Rage Against the Machine, cue the Rage Against the Machine. Oh my god, I was so relieved. It was like, because I saw we were off behind by 1 minute, and I was like, oh god. I had a feeling that it would be like, I don't know.
yeah, so on the soundtrack front, let's just pause on the soundtrack. So the entire soundtrack, of course, was like 90s rock music, and yes, I curated and picked every song. And I got a lot of blowback. I did. There was a lot of questioning of my selections from the ladies, but ultimately, was I right or was I right?
You're right.
Thank you.
Definitely right.
You actually got at least 3 people throughout the day that said, wow, you guys have an incredible selection of music playing at this conference.
Oh, soundtrack, like with our on the cover
Well,
and actually did.
Well, we can't because we didn't license the songs, right? So I mean, we used them. It was kind enough, hopefully, for fair use for us to use of this. Maybe we shouldn't emphasize this. Maybe we shouldn't this much.
Spotify official playlist that you can follow.
Yeah, we're not going to be issuing any disc anytime soon. But next year, we're going to try to do the same vibe. But I will admit that the Rage pick, it was Bulls on Parade, by the way, is what we walked into. I don't know that we're gonna be able to top that. I mean, that in terms of like high charging energy. And then when I got to the ramp, something really odd happened. Like my brain snapped, and I just lost it for a second. I just like went running onto the stage, and then just like, I don't know, like it wasn't even me talking for about 10 seconds. I just like lost it and was just like screaming at people, telling them to get fired up. But the weirdest thing is, they did, right? Like that entire room at that moment. I mean, I've been to a bunch of rock shows, and it felt like I felt like a rock star for about 10 seconds there. I mean, it was real. Like that place was going nuts. And then, you know, so the energy is, I mean, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, it is like a 30 in there. I mean, it is a 30. It is incredible. I've never experienced anything like that on stage before. And then, you know, I get to introduce, after, you know, we make a couple brief remarks, really nothing impactful other than just like firing people up. And then I introduce Robert Paler. And this guy comes on, and you know, I'm going to say this, and I say this with love, because I have the guy the highest esteem. I think when he first got up there, he was a little nervous. You know, like he seemed like almost a little unsure of himself when he first got started, because there was so much energy, so much noise, the lights were going crazy. Like, I mean, it really was a rock star sort of environment. But once that guy got steady, and he got into the meat of his presentation, oh my God. Ladies, what did you guys think? What did you guys think of Rock Jumping?
The oversight not to have tissues at the table. I know a lot of people around me were certainly tearing up, and I mean, he was just incredibly impactful and just an amazing human being. And thanks, Sayla, for finding, you know, him and being able to lock him down for this, because that was an incredible choice for an opening speaker.
I've never heard an audience gasp and moan and rise and laugh, and it was like we were all together on a journey that Robert was just masterfully taking us on. And this guy's young, right? I mean, he is not like an old, grizzled guy with you know, decades of experience that he comes in with instant credibility. He's a young guy in a wheelchair. And holy smokes, by the end of that thing, I was like, this guy is unrivaled as a speaker. And I don't mean that even because of, you know, what he's bringing to the table. You said we're trying not to spoil it. Like, you know, we don't want to tell you too much about it, because, you know, you should watch this for yourself someday. But the power with which he spoke was so impressive to me. And again, you know, this is kind of what I do for a living. I was blown away. Anybody else want to chime in here?
He had like an aura of wisdom around him. Like, he didn't seem at all disingenuous or bitter about his experience. I think the thing that left the most impact on me was his sense of forgiveness. Like he said, not once did this guy reach out, the person that hurt him, reach out to apologize, and yet he offered forgiveness anyways. And I felt like there was a lift above him when he said that, because in that moment it wasn't about what happened, it was about how that experience impacted him, and he took a negative and made it into a positive.
And when he did that, he like lifted all of us, right? I mean, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it was such a remarkable job that he did, because he took us on his journey with him in a way that I don't think I've ever seen before, and I certainly never experienced firsthand before. I mean, like, I went from like thinking one thing in the beginning, I was like, what's going on with these jokes? And I'm like, come on, get to it. And then like he starts hitting, and I'm like, whoa. And then he takes us like way down, and I'm like, oh my God. And you're right. Like, there was a moment when even the powerful Zara was like, I'm gonna tear up, man. Like, this is hitting heavy. I mean, it's early in the morning for this. Like, this is hitting heavy. And then like all of a sudden, you know, he takes us down, and he starts just building us up, building us up, building us up. And by the end, I mean, you want to talk about a moment of triumph? You guys, this is a quadriplegic. I did not know this. I did not know this was going to happen. He stands up. This dude stood up on our stage. A quadriplegic stood up on our stage to teach us about overcoming obstacles to start our conference. And I mean, I'm sorry, that was like the most powerful thing I'd ever seen in my life. And it wasn't like we knew it was, I did not know it was coming. Maybe you guys knew it was coming. I did not know it was coming. So I was just as stunned as like everybody else in the audience. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And look, again, I don't want to say too much, but like, trust me, this was not an easy feat. I mean, this guy's legs, they were like, I mean, it was, you could tell this was a powerful physical act of endurance and determination that he was demonstrating to us, right? I mean, this was not like, oh look, now I can stand up because I worked hard. No. This was like, I'm going to suffer right here in front of your eyes so that you can understand what you're capable of. And I mean, I'm going to tear this right now. Like, it was serious, man. It was serious business. And at the end of that, every single person stood up and applauded him. Every single person at that conference stood up and rose and was grateful for the ability to do so. I'll tell you. Geez, that was powerful. What did you guys think? What was going through your mind, Britt, when he stood up?
I was feeling a whole bunch of emotions. I was just honestly trying to contain my composure because this was the first act on the stage, and I know that we had a full day left to go. And I mean, I was tearing up already, but I also didn't want to ruin my makeup, so I was just like trying to keep it together. I was literally fanning myself like this, like trying not to cry. But honestly, his story was very, like Tori said, impactful, very powerful, and it really puts things into perspective. You know, we talk about being grateful all the time, and I think we take just the smallest things for granted. Like you said, waking up the next day and being able to use our limbs and our arms. And so I just really enjoyed having him there because it was a great first opening act.
A lot of thoughts that were going into Queenie's head. So first, for me, it was relatable, right? And I understand this from a certain regard, everyone could kind of relate to him because I understand that we all have obstacles in our life, all subjective obstacles, burdens, and I can't sit here and say, you know, I felt what he was going through because I can never feel what he's going through, or I don't currently, right? So I don't want to seem like my burdens or my obstacles are at his level, right? But as a law firm that is constantly pushing ourselves, constantly challenging ourselves, constantly under pressure every single day, from, you know, just being top-notch civil litigators at top of our class, right? Blogging and dealing with Eric, right? And putting on shows and going to conferences. I recall talking to someone like, I didn't go to law school for all this, right? But, you know, the universe has deemed it so that I have to use my talents and I have to do what others cannot do. And what I loved about his story was, you know, you look at it as such a tall, talented rugby player, right? Which he was at once, but the universe did not put him in this world to be a rugby player. The universe put him on this world to do exactly what he's doing today, which is speaking to folks, making an impact on folks. And it was just kind of incredible to like put myself in, not in his shoes, I guess, but kind of figure out what my story was and tell my story to myself almost, right? Because yes, he has a story, but he has figured out a way to tell his story in a way where it matters to him, it matters to the rest of the world, it matters to who he's speaking to, and it gave me chills, right? That somebody who is that talented is now that talented doing something else. And it just seemed very familiar. We're lawyers, but we're also talented in doing so many other things and how we give back to our industry. So to me, I just loved how relatable it was.
Yeah, the guy could spend an hour. Like I could sit
I
here
wasn't
and
saying
spend
there's
like
so
an
many
hour.
like I have topics of things I'd like to talk
yeah,
about.
I know. I really.
That's just one topic.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like he stirred so much. He hit so many. I mean, he was just brilliant. But we got to move on from that. You know, as you can imagine, the crowd's going crazy. He comes off the stage, and now somehow some idiot named Eric Trutman has to follow that. I mean, like, can you imagine this? Like, I'm on the same stage where a dude in a quadriplegic just stood up in like a quasi-miracle, and now I have to take the stage and talk about TCPA. Like,
boring.
Yeah. What did I do? To be honest, like, what did I do to myself, right? It's not like, talk about setting yourself up to fail. Like, you can't follow that. But I did, you know, I did my best. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, ladies, I think I did a pretty good job. Probably my best performance I ever had on stage. And it was great, but ultimately, look, it was the TCPA. But I knew I had to give the people something different, something they'd never seen before. And so we closed with something on stage that no one had ever seen before, which was me singing and throwing off, because I'm a decent singer. I'm not a great singer, I'm a decent singer, but I can hold a tune. But I closed with a line from Phantom of the Opera, which is "No more talk of darkness, forget these wide-eyed fears. I'm here, nothing can harm you. My words will warm and calm you." Drew it off to Mary, who did with pure opera perfection, and then closed a trio, but not before Yasmin gave hers. You want to do it? You wanna do it?
Insert short clip here.
You had to be there, sorry folks. Yes, I get ticket to see Yasmin.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And again, I don't want to go out of order here, but trust me, like by the time we got to lunch and the rest of the day, there were really just two things that people were talking about. One is Shark Tank, which we're going to get to, and the other was that singing performance. It stuck with everyone, and the reason I think it stuck with everyone is that no one saw it coming, right? You're there for a law conference, and you just got two classically trained, legit opera singers standing in the aisleway performing a cappella. It was insane. No one saw it coming, and we drilled it, and we drilled it, and we drilled it, and they crushed it. I mean, I've watched that video like 100 times because I am so impressed. I am so impressed with the execution. Not my own, understand. I am not talking about me here. Yasmin and Mary were just incredible. And Yasmin in particular, you know, there's a line there that was like, promise me that all you say is true. And I was like, baby, I promise you anything you want to hear, and I'll make it true. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do. So incredible. What was that experience like for you?
I mean, when I sing, I black out every time.
I believe it.
I mean, I take your word for it that it was good because I can still never watch myself perform and sing.
Wow.
Like, I can't. So when you say you watch 100 times, it's 100 times more than me. Yeah, I'm just happy.
Ladies, what do y'all think?
I can hear Yasmin speak like throughout the day. Like if she sung to me for 24 hours, I'd be okay with it. And as most of you guys know, you guys can't talk to me. You can never talk to me because I get annoyed talking to people. But Yasmin could sing to me all day long and I'd be okay with it. So what was amazing about it though, so Eric took us on, you know, like I seen him perform so many times in my career, right? Every single time there's something I take away from it, right? Something I can learn from it, or something he did differently. And this time was so incredible to me because he didn't have that much time. Usually he has a little bit more time to get through his slides, and I know how many slides he had. And he did something that ought to have been taken 3 days to honestly show on stage, and he took it and did it in 45 minutes, and he kept you wanting more and more every sentence he completed. But your transition to the next topic was it was absolutely seamless, right? You got just the right amount of information, but then you had your follow-up questions, and folks were just going like this with their notepads, taking it all in, all the substantive information you were giving. And mind you, you were quite funny up there too, right? So you were also very entertaining when you were up there. You kept that energy from Robert's performance, from our intro, from the music, and you kept it going, and you kept taking it up a notch with every single slide you went through. So it was incredible. And then on top of that, you again had the cherry on top with Yasmin and Mary just finishing it off. And so I'm sitting here at that point saying, okay, well, I'm just going to go use the restroom for the next hour and, have a good show. So that's what I was thinking by the time I was done.
And because, of course, Pooja has to follow. But anyone else have any thoughts on the music before we move on to Pooja's? No? Okay. Music was good. We move on. So then Pooja, she's got the next panel. And my goodness. I mean, do we deliver or do we deliver? The TCPA panel included the General Counsel of Cardinal Financial, John Paul. Like, why am I introducing your panel? You introduced your panel. Who'd you have?
Then I had Cody from Clavio, Corporate Counsel at Clavio. Then we had the infamous Rainmaker, Jeremy Gladstone.
Rainmaker? Kingmaker.
Kingmaker.
The Kingmaker.
Rainmaker. See, because we didn't use his royal name. I haven't heard his royal name in a bit. So we had Jeremy Gladstone from Regulatory Counsel at Block on my panel. I don't know what my own panel.
Why did you talk about your panel? What was going through your head? I talked about mine. You talked about yours. Like, what was going through your head? What was your strategy? How did you approach it?
True story, I didn't prepare for any of my panels, right? I know a lot of the team, folks that had panels prepared with their panelists. We didn't prepare. So I put together some slides and I put together some questions and I sent over the slides a day before to my panelists. But I trusted them because these are folks that I have known for a very, very long time and have had an opportunity to learn from throughout my career. So if anything, I was just nervous because I wanted to make sure that I was honoring them properly. And so my entire goal being up there was, I wanted to learn from them, right? So if I was, you know, a young associate or I was in-house counsel, what would I want to know from these folks? Because I was only in-house counsel for a short period of my career, but man, if I had these guys on my side when I was in-house counsel, I would have done even a better job when I was there. So I took that approach and I sat down as if I was almost, like it was a TCP 101 class for me for being in-house, right? And so instead of really focusing on, you know, respectfully the audience or other people that are watching, I kind of focused on what I would want to know. And so I took that approach and I asked them questions, and my goodness, they're brilliant, right? So every answer they were going to provide, I knew was going to provide value to not only myself, but to the entire audience, and they blew me away. And again, I learned even more than I knew after speaking to each one of them. So, you know, I was quite pleased. I was honored to be on the stage with them.
Well, I mean, John Paul is a genius. He's been somebody that we've worked with now for years, and he's just a next level intellect. And so obviously you kind of know what you're going to get from him, and he delivered. Jeremy Gladstone, one of the funniest, wittiest, sharpest human beings that exists in the world, and he put that on a playing display up there. He was masterful, absolutely masterful on stage. But again, you'd expect that. The one that I was actually surprised by was Cody. I mean, he's a fairly young kid. I mean, he's probably like, what, 4 or 5 years out of law school, and he was fantastic.
He was great, and he, man, it felt like he had been at Klaviyo for 10 years, or that he started that company with the CEO, where he knew its operations, he knew exactly what was applicable to his organization, and he knew exactly what wasn't applicable. And the coolest thing about Cody was he was, you know, he was outside counsel before, right?
Yeah.
So he brought that perspective of being outside counsel to the in-house role, and it was on clear display because while a lot of the questions didn't necessarily apply to his role at Klaviyo, he knew exactly what the other panelists were speaking about and could, you know, give some practical advice as outside counsel leading in as an in-house counsel. So.
Anyone else have thoughts on who just panel? The great TCPA panel.
Yeah, I will say, she had some heavy hitters on that panel.
Yes.
Like, these people were, like Eric said, John Paul from Cardinal Financial, Jeremy Gladstone, and I think she handled it extremely well. It's sometimes hard to moderate a panel. I mean, you'd think it'd be easier than maybe presenting by yourself, but honestly, it could be difficult. Yeah, it's tough. And you handled it very well. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from. It's nice to hear different perspectives on the panel, and so I enjoyed it a lot.
So you got all of that. All of that. We haven't got to our first break yet, right? So we finally get to the first break, and Tamina, what is your vibe right now? Now that there's no breaks to the virtual audience, right? That show runs straight through. As soon as we break in the live program, we're basically putting on 2 shows at once. As soon as we break in the live program, boom, we cut over to one of the 2 handhelds, it's 2 steady cams, and now my host and hostess, Blake and Tamina, are back on. There's no, you know, holding slide, we'll be right back. There's none of that. We have live people entirely moving the entire time. So Tamina, what's the vibe like in your head? What is going through your mind as you come in from the first break?
I think by this point we both felt a little bit better, like we knew what we were doing. So we were in position, the camera crew was really great. They met us exactly what they were supposed to. I don't remember who we were interviewing, maybe it was caller ID rep, but I think what we learned during the first couple of interviews was that I think we went into it assuming that our sponsors would be super comfortable talking about their company and their service on camera, but that's not necessarily true. So we found that some of them were a little bit nervous as well, so then we had to get kind of really good at getting them back on track and asking them leading questions and sort of prompting them to talk about what we discussed earlier, what their products offered or what they were doing in the industry. So I think that's something we had to kind of learn on the fly, and I feel like we got good at it because a couple of them came up to us later and also said, oh, you asked all the right questions, which felt really good. And then the other thing we noticed was a lot of people, so we had booths for those of you who weren't there. We had the conference room, and then we had our sponsors' booths along the sides of the room and in the hallway outside. Every single time we went up to one of the booths, there were people there talking to our sponsors, wanting to know about what they did, wanting to grab the merch, some of it was really cool. So we also had to kind of wait for them to finish that conversation or button when it was getting too late and be like, hey, sorry to interrupt you right now, but this is, so it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like nerves, right? Because, look, all of us up here, we're steely, right? We do this for a living. We're performers, all of us, every one of us. Killers, like I told you. But not everybody that works for our sponsors or even our panelists are really, truly killers. And you're talking about, you know, multi-camera formats, things flying around. You've got 15-foot light towers in there, guys, twins of them. Like, if you've never seen that before, it's impressive as hell. And you've got, what, they had like 20 Fresnels aimed down at the stage. I mean, like, this is a full, massive setup. And if you're not used to being on stage or in front of cameras, it was plenty intimidating. It was plenty intimidating. And you saw it, I'm not gonna lie, a couple of our panelists, you know, when they first started talking, they were a little nervous. And it was true for the sponsors as well. But I will say this also before we move on. How amazing is it to sponsor something like the Law Conference of Champions? Who else gives you a 2-minute segment in the middle of a live presentation, right? In the middle of a session, we just call time out, bring up a live person to come and pitch their product right there in front of everybody, in front of the entire virtual audience, and everybody there in the middle of our presentation. Not like during a break, not when no one's paying attention, but when like the energy and the attention is peaked, we give them the opportunity, and plus we give them, of course, the site location, which, as you said, people were just so interested in visiting and learning because, of course, we've got the most qualified audience you can imagine for this. And on top of all that, we give them a 10-minute interview. I mean, look, yeah, every single one of these guys had a 5-figure commitment, and these were pretty sizable checks that they wrote us. But I think the payback that they got, the ROI, I think is very good. I really do. Okay, so we come back from break, and now it's time for the Orca for Brittany. Walk us through. What do you have?
Yeah, so I'd say I think I had a more difficult time than others to kind of jumpstart my panel because I think it's easier for kind of Pooja to find her TCPA panelists maybe. We already had like 5 panelists, and so I just like sitting around trying to figure out who I was gonna find, who was gonna be on my panel, maybe the leftovers. I don't know. It was tough. It was tough, and I know we were bouncing around the idea of maybe just me presenting SIPA by myself, but I would say that it came together quite well. I had Nima from AmeriCorps, Pavan from Kajabi, and Anna from AM Healthcare, and I think they did a really great job. We did meet a couple times just to go over kind of what we're going to be discussing, like high-level topics of what questions I wanted to ask, and I think they did fantastic.
Well, I mean, that felt like an unbalanced panel, because you did have Nima, and look, Nima's a monster. I mean, he's the general counsel of AmeriCorps. This dude is a legend. I mean, like, he was previously at Loan Depot. He's at Impact, he's done great things with his career in Orange County. That guy is incredibly well known and incredibly well respected. So, you know, just the fact that it was you and Nima talking, I mean, that's more than enough. I mean, the audience, I think, would have been spellbound. And of course, he lived up to the hype. The guy was absolutely brilliant. Every word he spoke, it was like so impactful. I love people, because I am not one of these people necessarily, right? But the people who like don't use that many words, but every word like really, really matters. Like Nima's one of those guys, right? And so like when he talks, it's like just shut up and just listen to what he's saying, and then like listen to what he's not saying, and then now you're gonna get what he's saying, right? And that's Nima. So he was profound. He was brilliant. So it felt going in like it was gonna be very uneven. Like we're gonna have Nima that you'd be like kind of carrying some dead weight. And I'm not trying to be mean. Like that was just kind of my expectation. But holy smokes, I was wrong. This Pavan kid. He was sharp as all get out.
Yeah.
Were you expecting that? I was not. He was amazing.
I mean, when I did have my initial call with him, I could tell that he was very smart, very intelligent, and I already knew off the bat that he'd present well. So I had sort of an expectation that he would do just fine on stage, but of course, like, you never know when you're under pressure and, you know, you have the light shining on you if that's going to shine through, but he really did. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, the one person I think of the entire show that I was most impressed with, and by impressed I mean like where my expectations are to where he actually landed, was Pavan, because my expectations were low. I mean, again, no offense if you're watching, man. Like, I didn't know you. I thought, you know, who's this guy? But I mean, he was like, honestly, incredibly insightful, really, really impactful, direct takeaways. I was very impressed. And then your last panelist, I can't get her name right.
Anna.
Well, that's not her full
Oh, I
name.
can't say her last name.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? She's got a name that's a little bit tricky, at least for me. And you know, she's coming out of AM Healthcare. You know, she's a real hitter as well. And I was very impressed. I thought, this person maybe didn't have the level of experience that I would have wanted to see on the panel. I was wrong. I mean, again, actionable takeaways, deep experience, and just, I don't know. I mean, Brittany, you brought this like really cool kind of different energy, because like I had this like ferocious energy, and Pooja had this like, it was still kind of like a brooding energy. Like both Pooja and I had like this, like it was like massive energy, but it was almost like playing off the Rage Against the Machine. Like we were kind of like broody up there, right? And then she comes in, it's all like lollipops and rainbows. And she's like bopping around up there, like, all right, so let's go. And she had like 19-inch heels on or something. It was really something. They were huge. That was impressive. So that went fantastic, and then we get to Jen, and it's too bad that Jen couldn't join us right now, because Jen's presentation was next level also, and like so far, I mean, literally every single one of these things is essentially perfect from like a content perspective, but Jen's was the densest, right? And we've gotten so much feedback, and it's so amazing because the feedback is basically always the same thing. You give us more information than any other conference has ever given us in an actionable way, yet you're entertaining and fun, and we pay attention the entire time. And I'm going to suggest to you that maybe, just maybe, we aren't actually giving you more information, it's just you're actually paying attention more. And it feels like we're giving you more information because we're making it interesting and we're educating and entertaining at the same time, which nobody else does or even tries to do, which is really just a crime in my opinion. But Jen had what I would say was the beefiest presentation of the day. I mean, I don't think there's any arguing that. I mean, she has to go through the entire catalog of data privacy legislation and regs across the entire country. She gave you, which ones have private rights of action. She gave you which ones are new from last year. She gave you which ones have the various rights to be forgotten and all the different kinds of rights that are out there. She disambiguated between the different kinds of privacy bills. And she did all that in like the first 10 minutes, right? And then she walked through with her panelists. I mean, who did we have? We had, oh my God. Like EXP's like head privacy cybersecurity tech attorney in Anthony Witwowski. I mean, that guy is incredible. I mean, he is just incredible. Like there's not enough words to describe how incredible that guy is. And then you've got John Klapsik, who, by the way, looks like he could be on like the cover of GQ right now. I mean, because look, we've got Steven, who we haven't mentioned yet. Like Steven Rosenfeld is a legend. He's an associate with us, and he was greeting people as they came in, and he was our official greeter, not because he's the most attractive man in the world, but he might be the most attractive man in the world. And in my head, I look like Steven. Now I don't in reality, but in my mind, that's what I look like. But if there was somebody that I could look like that wasn't Steven, then I'd want to look like John Klapsik. I mean, I mean, he's just like he's like perfect looking, and so he's up there and he's brilliant, right? And so like he's this brilliant guy. Kind of breaking down the most complex issues you can imagine with Anthony, and so like, and they couldn't be more different, by the way, right? John is like this tall guy, like thin, and just got back from Lake Como or something. And he's got long hair, and it's just like everything he does is precise, but like easygoing. And then you've got Anthony, and like I love you, Anthony, but it's just like this, right? Like everything's so closed off, and it's like. He's got that brooding energy that I was discussing earlier, right? And it's like he's like almost like overwhelmed with like anger at how bad these statutes are. And he's just like spitting like all this venom at these statutes at the same time. It's amazing to like watch the two of them. And of course Jen with her incredible EQ just kind of like walking through and getting them to play off of each other and giving so much content. Like you have to admit that we all had great panels, but like the content from that Jen was able to coax out of John and Anthony, I thought was really kind of the highlight of the show. I mean, from like for those that were there for hard legal information, I mean that was really it. I mean that was really something. It was the cream in the Oreo. You know what I mean? It was really something. Do you guys have any other thoughts on Jen?
Brittany and Jen, what I really liked that they did was they started off by setting the stage for their panel. They gave the history, they gave the educational information, and then they let the panel take it away from there, and every single one of y'all choices for a panel just was absolutely, incredible and knowledgeable, and it was just both very well done, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, everyone was talking about the panels and how like precise everything was, how the content was so meaningful, how the information was so cogent, and how really the responses that were being given were just like so concise and on the nose. And it was like you could tell how much work went into it, right? And I guess I should just say, the way we ran the show, obviously Danny, put in the legwork, she executed, it was my kind of strategic vision, but each one of the individual sessions was left to be produced by the person that was moderating. So I had very little input, in Pooja's, for instance, or in Brittany's, or in Tori's, or in Jen's. They knew what they had to do. Your job is to deliver something groundbreaking and brilliant on this subject matter. Go. Right? Go. And those were essentially their instructions. And they executed, and of course, like, is it the fear of Eric Troutman? Is it just that these are incredibly high-performing killer individuals that would never fail? I don't know. Whatever it is that motivated them, you saw the work product. These people worked hard, and the outcome and the execution was tremendous. So we get to lunch. What do we serve for lunch? Do you give like a sandwich in a box? Is that what they got? What do we serve for lunch? Because I mean, I go to conferences all the time. We get like a box. There's like a sandwich in there.
Like
chips.
there's one left.
Like a bag of chips.
Plate on the food because I didn't have a chance to sit down and eat it.
Oh, come on,
But I did
Jamie.
get one bite of a donut, and I did get the steak. The steak was amazing.
Okay, so we had like what? And sea bass?
Sea bass.
Like, can you know sea bass, mashed potatoes, carrots, like, no, I mean, like we went out to a dinner a couple nights before, like a really high-end dinner in Huntington Beach. It was very, very expensive. It had more or less the same menu. It was trash compared to what we served at our conference, right? Like, people ate better at our conference than you would eat at a lot of very nice restaurants. Now, I'm not saying it's like the best food you're ever going to have in the history of the world, because it's not. That would just be a lie. But it is the best food you're ever going to have at a conference. I'll tell you that.
The fact that salad smelled good was
That was my favorite.
I don't know how a salad could smell good, but it really did.
The food was fresh, it was delicious. When you ate the steak, it was not like it was dry, it was fantastic. The steak was great, the food was great, everything was great. It was wonderful, and I just, because we'll probably forget, at the second break, right, we had donuts, we had cookies and milk. And the cookies were very good. They weren't the best cookies. Pooja makes the best cookies. Little known fact. You guys think, Pooja has all the talents in the world. Well, she can bake too, and these cookies she makes are unbelievable. But we had these cookies and milk. So the food just goes along with everything else, like the Law Conference of Champions. Like we have done, we want everything to be perfect. And I just can't imagine throwing a show and like cutting corners, right? And again, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody that puts on shows, but like if you're serving a box lunch to people who have paid $1,000 or thousands of dollars to be there, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, don't treat people like that. Give them a decent meal, for God's sake. These are your guests. So anyway, we did that, and I felt very good about where we landed there. But while I was upstairs, we were watching the virtual option, and that is when Tom and Blake they're just missing guests. And so like they're just up there tiptoeing and dancing, and like, what was that like?
I think lunch was probably the craziest hour for us because we had 4 or 5 interviews lined up. And I think here's what I'll do better next year. I'll get a watch that actually works because we had it all planned to the minute.
The stupid thing was beeping, and you could hear it on the virtual option.
That was big.
Staring at the screen, and I'm like, so how long is this dumb watch that's gonna beep live to hundreds of people? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. So someone got us like digital watches that morning from like a toy store or something. I could not figure out how to set the time on that thing. So we had it all planned to the minute, but I had no way of telling what minute it was. So we were just sort of like vibing, like going off of like estimates. So we got the first 2 interviews done, I think, and for the third interview we've gone to the spot. I think this was like Reach, so we were supposed to be interviewing Gayla, who's great. I didn't know her from like a previous conference and stuff, so I was a little more at ease with this one, but she wasn't there. So we go outside and we're like talking to each other. We're like, okay, we need to like keep this going. We're talking about literally anything and everything that comes to our mind. We talked about the playlist for the conference. We talked about like our blog, about the band, about our podcast, about
so
like
good.
the Christmas retreat. Like
It would be so good if you would like, so what are you wearing? Like, oh, this is a Armani suit.
at some point I would.
Well, what I do know, Tom, at some point you were like, let's look at the agenda together. Just like pick it up, and it's like, can we zoom in on this? Look at you guys have like great radio talent because they'll teach you, right? Like if you're really a performer, like if you pick up something, like you play with it, you move it so they can hear it, right? And they did that. They're like, and like they're like shaking it so you can hear it. And they're like, let's look at it. They're like waving their hand. Let's look at it together. And it looks like, oh my God, you guys pros, man. And they start reading it, and then, oh look, it's Shark Tank, and their eyes are so big. The players' eyes get so big. They're like, oh, we can't wait. It was amazing. It was corny, but it was fantastic.
It's really corny, and I think it's really great that we did Jeopardy a couple of days before that, because I feel like we had a lot of like firm history and like stuff like that right at the top of our heads. So at one point I was like, Blake, do you know what our firm's first merge was? And he was like, that's a great question. Literally, I think we did this for like 5 minutes. It was
Tamina, it was a lot longer than 5 minutes. We were watching. It was at least like 12 or 13 minutes.
For 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but the whole yapathon was like maybe about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
20 minutes.
It was impressive, and like I was sitting up there, so it was the assistants and myself and Pooja and Brittany, and we're like trying to get some food in us, right? Like everyone's got nerves. Pooja's Shark Tank's going next. We're like texting the plaintiffs' lawyers, right? Because we hadn't heard from them, and I literally text the boss. I'm like, hey man, are you coming? He literally responds. What the hell are you talking about? Question mark. And I'm like, and I was like, thank goodness he used that full sentence because I knew he was messing with me, right? Because if he had just been like question mark, I would have been like, oh my God, right? But he said, what are you talking about, mate? And I was like, oh, okay, he'll be here. He's just messing with me. But so Pooja had nerves. I was like feeling kind of hot, but I was like, man, like we're gonna go into this lead gen panel, which we're gonna talk about here in a second. This is pretty heavy stuff. Brittany's chilling. She's like, I'm done. I'm like, you've got question and answer skills. She is. She's like, she's doing a great time. So we head back down, and now it's time for what ends up being the absolute highlight of the show. And let me just say this out of the gate. Pooja's panel the Shark Tank panel was the first panel that was completed. It was the first one that was designed and conceived. And I told Pooja, I believe this will be a fantastic panel. I might even say I believe it will be the best panel, but it will also be a panel that people will not understand or believe in. And that in fact, once we tell people that there will be plaintiffs' lawyers attending the show, it will actually be a drag on attendance. People will not actually want to go. And she asked me, well, should I not do it? And I told her, no, you absolutely should do it. People need to hear this, but just understand, we might actually lose a few attendees because of this. But Pooja, walk us through your perspective going into what ended up being the highlight of the show.
Well, Brittany was chowing down on food. I was not eating. I had one bite of the mashed potatoes, and I think I had a carrot, so I had nerves in me, so I didn't eat as well. I was more focused on my introduction, to be honest with you, and I was walking it through upstairs in our room with Brittany, and I had planned out with Danny like a few weeks before that I was going to do like a rating. You know how you see on those singing shows, right? Give this person a 10, 8, 1, and I was like trying to make the crowd laugh in my head so that they had the opportunity to essentially like boo the panelists. And so my initial plan in my head, and I didn't think it through. Danny had the signs already printed out. Last minute, while Brittany again was eating, I was like, Brittany, what do you think of this? And I would just watch Brittany's reaction. So I was trying out different things. I was like, and then the last one where I told Brittany, and it just like, I think it hit me like 5 minutes before we were supposed to go downstairs. So I was like, you know what, Brittany, I'm not going to sit down with these guys.
That was crazy.
And I think this is how I'm just going to introduce it. And she actually laughed and she chuckled. I was like, done, right? So then I didn't think much else to it, right? I had my questions prepared. That was fine. So I walked in, and again, I fed off the energy of the crowd. So I walked in, did my spiel about, I'm not going to share the stage with these gentlemen, and I'm going to stand for this entire presentation. And I think in my head, I thought there was, what are the speaking boxes that are usually up there at conferences?
Oh, podiums.
The podiums. I thought, in my head, I thought there was going to be a podium there. I'm like, oh damn, there's no podium here. So I really, and I was in that moment on stage, I was like, well, you better be confident, you're standing up here, right, and you just gotta run with it. And I put myself in the shoes of a litigator, right, as I often do when I'm taking depositions or when I'm arguing or when I'm in court, is the approach I took. These gentlemen aren't scary, right, you litigate them against them often, show off what kind of lawyer you are, right, so in my head, that's the mentality I took, and for those of you who know me, I'm pretty aggressive, and I'm not necessarily always a nice person, especially if you're on the other side of whatever it is. And I took that approach. And so then I just ran with it, and honestly, I didn't expect to make the crowd laugh. I dare I say that was me and my truest nature, was what I did up there. And there was no one there to stop me, because often, you know, when I am my true nature, I have this one telling me to calm down, or, you know, I often will have, you know, opposing counsel, you know, not yelling back, but arguing back, or I have a judge telling me to shut up and sit down. So I ran with it. I had 45 minutes to be Queenie, and I enjoyed every freaking minute of it. And so that's what was going through my head at the time.
I had more heartburn in my entire life. So understand, so we've got the #1 SIPA filer in the country, the #1 FICRA filer in the country, and the godfather of class actions. All three of these guys are legendary plaintiffs' attorneys. And people, by the way, who I've known for like a dozen years. And so, you know, I am ultimately a very kind of like gracious, generous guy. And to me, these are guests in my home. As I told you, you feed people well, you put them on stage. Even if they have different philosophies and beliefs than you do, you're not going to be disrespectful to them. I would have been very nice to them. Pooja just comes right out and just starts swinging at these guys. And like she literally wouldn't sit down. She was like, I would never sit on the same stage with you. And I was just like, whoa, what the hell? And she perceives the entire time, it was like, the audience, I think, loved it, but I think the guys only tolerated it because they thought it was a bit, and I didn't know how to tell them, like, it wasn't a bit. This is Pooja being Pooja, you know? And it's like, I remember at one point I literally was like, Pooja, you can't talk to them the way you talk to me, right? But it's just like, but she just did. And like, for all my heartburn, and I'm telling you, like, I couldn't sit down. Like, I was walking, and I was just like, trying to interject once in a while because I was so.
Why is this man talking
Because I was so
nervous.
I was
think
just
he's trying to stop me.
I was trying to like break it up a little bit, like give people a little bit of a break, but the audience,
They were eating it up.
like edge of their seat, like everyone's
Yes.
like this, they're like,
Yes.
oh, and like you could, they didn't have popcorn, but you could imagine they would just be like stuffing popcorn in their face, eyes were big. They were like, it was like the most engaged I've ever seen an audience. This is the same audience, by the way, that just saw a guy rise up out of the wheelchair and stand on stage, and yet, I mean, like this was like, they were just like ravenous. It was, you know what it reminded me of? It was like the old, like gladiators, you know? Like it was the same bloodlust that you would have seen in the ancient Colosseum, right? When like people were being attacked by lions. It was like watching these guys get attacked by the tiger Pooja. It was like people were just thrilled to watch it. And I was like getting live like text messages, and every one of them, by the way, had an F-bomb in it. It was like, this is the most awesome thing. Yeah, this is amazing. Oh my God, she's amazing. It was like every single thing was just like so over the top because no one had ever seen anything like it. And yet at the same time, to give these guys their due, is that even as Pooja was being it was just cruel, these guys are very good lawyers.
Very good.
Very good. And they were sharp. And two of the three, both Josh and Abbas and Tab, right, kind of understanding the hostility that was being thrown at them, pivoted. And rather than go hostile back, they were like, oh, you know, and they just became these like, aw shucks, charming guys.
They
and
were
like,
funny.
They were really
and,
good.
and they start falling back on wit and humor, and then once in a while giving a really strong substantive answer, demonstrating these are very intelligent people. Abbas, right, his intelligence and his encyclopedic knowledge of the TCPA, he's the godfather. I mean, it rivals my own, right? So he's up there citing, I mean, how many cases did he cite?
He cited a lot.
Off the top of his head, probably like 15, 20 cases, just cited off the top of his head for specific, and at one point I cheered for him, because I was like, and that's what I was trying to get people to understand. Right, to me, the real thing with the Shark Tank is know thy enemy, right? Like, understand, these guys are not lazy. Every once in a while, I'll talk to a new client, they're like, oh, these guys, they're just lazy, they're just out for a buck, man. Just, you know, offer them $500, it'll go away. And I'm like, dude, get yourself another lawyer, because you have no clue. You have no clue what you're gonna walk into if you think this case against Abbas Kazabruni is gonna go away for $500. Like, you're dealing with the wrong mindset, right? And that's why I wanted people to see, like, these guys are so sharp, so intelligent, and laser focused just on this area of law. So when you go and you hire your generalist big law class action attorney to come in and try to handle a TCPA case against a boss, he's going to get, like, you're going to get smoked. You're going to get destroyed. right? Like you are literally like walking into a, I mean, you guys have seen the second Matrix, right? There's the train man. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, right? And it's like Neo is the one, so he's so powerful. So he goes down to where the train man is, he's gonna fight the train man. And he punches the train man, and the train man just laughs at him, and he throws Neo through a wall. And Neo looks up at him, he's like, what the hell? And the train man's like, dude, I built this place. I'm God here, right? And that's the concept with TCPA world. Like a boss is the Godfather. He built the concept of TCPA class actions. Like you think you're just gonna walk in there and beat a boss? Dude, you are nuts. You are nuts. Like that's all I'm gonna tell you. So he was incredibly impressive. You were incredibly impressive. Highest rated thing in the show. I'm telling you, that is what everyone was talking about. Everyone was talking about Shark Tank and then the music. But from a substantive panel perspective, it was Shark Tank all day long. I mean, like how many emails have we gotten about Shark Tank? Like it's just like that is what people wanted to see. They loved the way Pooja handled it. You were brilliant, Pooja. You were way better than I would have been. Because I would have been like all nice to them, like, oh, hey, shucks, guys.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Like I can't, I cannot emphasize enough, guys. Like Pooja was just me. And,
She was really witty.
Yeah, Abbas, Tab, Josh, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I did not put her up to that. I would not have actually, in all seriousness, like the generous heart that I have, I would not have allowed it had I known it was going to come. So it's good. It's good for everybody that I didn't know it was coming, and she just did it. And awesome. Honestly, you gave the people a hell of a show. I will say that. So great job. Give me a round of applause for Pooja, because it really was. It really was something.
Felt like a taping of some show. Like the audience was listening to the applause cue cards from the front or something. People were just eating it up, and they thought it was so funny.
It was so funny. I was telling, I think it was one of her assistants, I was like, did something happen before the segment? I was like, oh, is she okay? And then I was like, oh, it's just banter. Okay, good. Good, so good, so good.
Yeah. And so again, I have to follow like the greatest presentation in the world, right? I had to follow Robert in the morning. Now I'm following Pooja's Shark Tank. Now, I've got some firepower though, because my lead gen panel is no joke. No joke. I mean, I've got the General Counsel of Lending Tree on stage. I can just stop there, right? We got Heather Enlow from Lending Tree, the General Counsel of Lending Tree. And then, you know, just for the heck of it, why not have like Chief Counsel from EverQuote, Chris Hurd, who, by the way, is pound for pound. I don't use that phrase, but like he's the smartest guy. He's the smartest guy on the phrase on the stage. I mean, he's the smartest guy on the stage. I would say of every single person that spoke, and just set aside everything else, just look at intelligence alone. He was the smartest guy on the stage that day. So we had the GC of Lending Tree, a certifiable genius, guy's IQ is probably 200. I say that without kidding. Then you've got the absolute legend, which is Manny, right? The guy, the CEO from Quote Velocity, that everybody loves and respects. And oh, by the way, just for the sake of it, we'll throw in Andrew Bach, right? Who's like the lead gen equivalent of Superman. He's got so much integrity. He's just like the best guy in the world from Veterans United. Okay, so I have these four. I mean, like, that's a juiced up panel.
Right.
That panel is, as my kids would say, that's an overpowered panel, right? Because they play these video games. They're just overpowered. So I've got this overpowered panel, but I'm coming right off of Pooja's ridiculous, you know, Shark Tank. The energy is out of control. And you know, I don't know if my panel was masterfully moderated or not, but like we just executed, right? Like this was a panel about machine-like precision in doling out critical information on important topics right now. And that's the way I went into it, right? Like my mind is, I've got four of the smartest, most capable, most qualified people you're ever going to see for lead gen. I've got an audience hungry for information. I'm going to give them as much as I can with German efficiency between now and 45 minutes from now. And I just went. And I'd like to think, this goes back to, you know, info density, right? I mean, like that was, pat myself on the back, that was an info dense presentation, but not for me, right? I wasn't presenting much. It was just like, question, go, next, go, next, go. At least that's how it felt like for me. Like, what was your perspective? I actually haven't really got much feedback on that panel.
I had never seen you actually moderate a panel before.
I'm not sure I've ever moderated a panel before, to be honest.
I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I was like, you know, I know Eric wants to answer every single one of these questions. But it was absolutely info dense. Everybody answered very completely and beautifully. I mean, I thought it was one of the top panels.
Oh, thank you so much.
I really do. I actually think, you know, it was probably my favorite, you know, panel from a question wise, like, you know, and what you want to know and how to practically advocate that.
Well, you're making up for earlier saying that our opening was good. Anybody else have any thoughts? I'm curious. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought there was a lot of info packed in that session. I mean, you had a large Legion panel, like you said. There's also heavy hitters on there, Heather from Lending Tree and Chris Hurld, and so I thought it was very seamless. Like you gave out great questions and you were responding with great follow-ups, so I think it went very smoothly.
Yeah, you know, what I love to talk about my own panel for a second, I love the balance that we achieved there. Again, not intentionally so, because like Chris and Heather came across as the intellectuals, they're the lawyers, we were talking about pure legal development. Manny, of course, is so grounded. I mean, talk about a man of the people. I mean, just everyone loves Manny. And he's just so grounded up there and just keeps bringing things back. But then there was something about Andrew, like his like boyish charm and his integrity, and just like when he talked, I don't know why, I found him actually to be the most captivating speaker on my panel, which was very surprising to me, right? I mean, Heather, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, like Heather was laser focused and just like, you know, like a chainsaw. Chris was doing his nerdy stuff, and Manny was doing his man of the people stuff, but somehow like Andrew just came across as a guy that had no shtick. He was just there to be like super integrity guy, and it was like a real Midwest insurance guy, just here to help you kind of fella. And I don't know, it really resonated with me, and I think it did pretty well with the audience, or at least it gave another flavor that really hadn't been up on the stage the whole day. I mean, he really was kind of a breath of fresh air from that perspective. You know, in a conference full of marketers and sales guys, he did not come across as either one. So that was actually very fascinating from my perspective. Pooja, anyone else? Anything else?
I'll comment really quick. From my perspective in the back, it was quite amazing to see that everybody was so engaged in listening or writing stuff down. No one was having sidebar conversation or looking off into different directions. They were really paying attention to, one, the performers on stage, and two, the content that was up on the screen. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, when you like Heather from Lending Tree and Chris from EverQuote and Andrew, like you want to hear what they have to say. And we weren't asking them dumb questions. Like we were asking them like, hey man, like what is the impact of AI to Lending Tree moving forward? Like how is EverQuote going to be handling the uncertainty following McKesson? Right? Like we were giving them questions, and these guys, like GCs from publicly traded companies, were answering. I mean, it really was something you just don't see. You just don't see stuff like that on stage, in public. Frankly, I'm shocked we got away with some of the questions that we asked. No, I'm serious. Like some of the answers that I got on stage, I just thought, wow, I'm gonna use that. So now, at long last, we get to our last break, and then we get to maybe the most anticipated, didn't end up being the highlight because Pooja's was, but one of the most anticipated panels. And we've got a lot of very positive feedback on this, which was AI in the afternoon. And I think people went in thinking, how much practical information can we get in a 45-minute panel on AI? I think there was a lot of doubt going in, but those doubts were assuaged. Tori, walk us through.
All right, so to start the panel, what I did was I met with every single one of my guests individually, and I asked them what they thought the two hottest topics in AI were. Now, not all those topics made it to the final list, because then I narrowed it down to which ones actually have practical applications for the people in the room. Now, I had an all-star panel picking these questions. I had Paul Clean from Pitch It, I had Chris Kent from Qualphone, I had Wayne Stacy from Berkeley Law, the director of the technology department at Berkeley Law.
Ridiculous poll, ridiculous. But that's what happens when you're the #1 sponsor of Cal Athletics. You can just pick the head guy out of Berkeley Law that handles all the AI for him. Come on, guys.
And then last but not least, we had Derek Walton from Purple.
He was my favorite guy. He was my favorite because, like, look, I know all my other favorite people like Chris and Heather and John. Like, we go way back in the industry. Derek, you found gold nugget. I love that guy.
And I mean, we just went through each topic to figure out what from that topic would be most useful for the people in the room. We all formulated these questions together, and I was far the star from my own panel. Every single one of these guys absolutely shined. We're a wealth of knowledge, and you know, we had a developer up there, we had a deployer for that specific developer up there, and then we had the law professor, and then we had general counsel of Purple.
Yeah, and what I love about what he came, because there's a lot of talk about like outbound voice AI, fine, whatever. But what I love about the panel being so balanced is that that was not the focus, right? And Derek in particular talked about the practical applications of marketing technology, like MarTech AI crossover, right? Because that's why Purple has been so effective, is they've leveraged AI in their marketing outreach targeting, right? AI targeting. Like this is what the future of MarTech and advertising is, and Purple is at the very forefront of it, and Derek is the legal guy driving those initiatives, and holy smokes, was he insightful. I mean, that was really something. And having him sitting right next to Wayne Stacy talking about like the theoretical legal application and like the fear and loathing that might come from regulators on the exact advanced deployments that Derek was talking about, and just like having this happen in real time, like on a stage, I'm telling you guys, like this does not happen in real life. And there it was, just like playing itself out before the eyes of a hungry audience, and people were shocked. I mean, like, I'm telling you, honestly, I think you got the second most feedback. Pooja's obviously was like, so many feedback. But a lot of folks have said so many feedback. I've been talking for a while, I'm running out of gas.
We're all tired, guys.
We're tired, we're running out of gas. But seriously, Tori, like people were so impressed with the AI panel being impactful and really delivering, again, not just takeaways, but like getting people thinking. And I know at one point you broke Paul's brain because you asked if you closed with my question, which is not even a question, I mean, it's obvious. But so how did you close the panel?
AI was going to take over the world one day.
I mean, and the answer to that is absolutely yes. I mean, there's nothing we can do to stop it. But it was great because for some reason, like Paul had never pondered that question before. But what was amazing is that both Derek and Wayne were like, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, they're like, yeah, no, they were not messing around. They're like, oh yeah, no, we're all screwed. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for making me feel a lot better. So we'll have a law conference of Champions 4 if AI allows it. But any other thoughts on that?
I was just very much privileged to share the stage with these guys, and normally I put together a list of 2,000 different laws that are pending pass, maybe pass, they're thinking about, and this year was just completely different, and being able to pinpoint it to what the people in the room can actually use and take away that they can implement in their own companies. That was the main challenge, but every single one of those guys on stage, I could have given a mic for 45 minutes, and it still wouldn't have been long enough.
That's really well said. Anyone else on Tori's?
And it went good.
It was good. It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, I'll say Tori always has the hardest slot of the day because she goes last. And mind you, the first 2 years, well not 3, I guess 3 years now, I'm in the beginning before lunch, which is just great. A great position to be in, honestly. And she's at the end, so she just, has that stress all day. But, she has one of the coolest topics, and that's really what a lot of people come to this conference for, is they want to hear AI, and they want to hear what the new developments are. And she had a crazy panel. Like, she had some really cool people there, like that guy from Berkeley. And it could have been really easy for Tori to just kind of hide behind the people that were speaking, but I think she did a very good job at standing her own and holding her own, really, on that panel against some heavy hitters, too.
What I love about it is Tori's, she's the last panel, but by next year, there's going to be much more, right? It's going to be going AI speed, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tori's doing the opening panel, right? Like TCPA obviously is going to be the forefront, but right after that, because I can only imagine how much case law and how many bills are going to actually be passed and how folks are actually like real-time implementing, compliance when it comes to AI. And so I can see by the time next year, it's going to be even a hotter topic. Like we may need a half a day just for Tori. Yeah. And the coolest thing is like just if you go back to Law Conference of Champions #1, right, and look at all the information that we have been gathering for the last 3 years when it comes to AI in particular, my goodness, right, that is going to be something no other law firm has done by the time we get to next year and the following year. And Tori, you're gonna, you're such an expert in this area, and I was so proud of you, right? Because you did take a very hard panel with very four nerdy, I mean this in a good way, this is a compliment, gentlemen, right? Who day in, day out practice AI, right? Like this is what they do. The way Eric Trumman sees TCP, these guys are looking at AI in that lens, and at least not yet, AI isn't like 100% of your practice, right? And you formulate the questions, and you had just like I don't know, it must have been the red hair, really. There's this calmness about you, and then the way you even held the mic, right? If you look back at the pictures and the videos, it was, it was welcome to my AI world, is like the feeling I got, right? You welcome these folks into your world, and now the AI world was yours, and they were guests. It's almost like they were guests on the Deserve to Win AI podcast, right? And you took it to a whole different level, and I honestly, it was perfection. It was perfection, and given all the challenges you had with being late, later in the day, in the afternoon, after my panel, after Eric's panel, after so many amazing panels, and more importantly, keeping the audience there. Folks were still sitting in that room, right? Other conferences you go to, if you're attending a 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock panel, folks are at the bar, right? This time, like even when I was walking back and forth to my room, folks weren't hanging out in the bar, right? They were hanging out there, listening to your panels.
Yeah, I mean, even at the 4 o'clock question and answer,
It was packed.
80% of the people were still sitting there for a 4 o'clock question and answer, which by the way went a full hour, right? And people were asking questions, people were engaged. I have been to a ton of conferences. I have never seen 80% of the attendees stay all the way through 5 o'clock to get through a question and answer. And I was just so, like, to me, that was the most validating part of the entire experience. Like, you can get people with butts in chairs at 9 a.m., fine, 9:30, fine. But if you've got people with butts in chairs at 4:30, you are doing something right. And I gotta say, ladies, we did something right. The level of execution, every one of those panels was fantastic. The happy hour, we're gonna skip this because, I mean, unless anyone has something really burning to say. It was a great happy hour, but it was just happy hours, rooftop, beautiful, California, sunset, whatever. But I do want to talk real quick and close on the future. Because it's literally, this was so intoxicating and so amazing. And with Danny at my side, I feel like we can accomplish really anything now. So
She's by my side. You borrow your
So I've been thinking, back to the point, basically nonstop since this show ended about what next year's going to look like.
Wait, I want to interrupt, sorry, Eric. Literally the next morning, me and Eric were trying to figure out the agenda for next year, trying to figure out the exact time, and we're like, wait, why are we even thinking about this? Like, we have 365 days to plan this.
It is crazy. Like, I cannot tell you like how wired my brain is on this right now. And it'll spin down and soon it'll be filled with legal work like it normally is. I work like 18 hours a day because my brain just never shuts off. But like right now it's been just running on this. And so as we think about next year, those of you that have watched this podcast, those of you that attended, we love feedback. And not by like, oh, we loved what we saw. We know you loved what we saw, what you saw. You had to, right? We were perfect. From a certain perspective, that's a problem. That means we didn't get out of our comfort zone. That means we didn't push hard enough, right? So next year, we've got to push. We've got to come up with something new, something innovative, something that no one's ever seen before, right? Just like we did this year, only we're going to do it again times 10. And so as we start thinking through like what that's going to look like, we're looking for a new paradigm also. Is it going to be a 2-day event? Is it going to be a multi-track event? Are we going to keep it 1 day but move to a larger venue, right? Like, what is it exactly that's going to change in this trajectory from our first year doing this to our second year doing this to our third year doing this? We gotta get to a fourth year, right? So what's that gonna look like? I want to close on that. Tom, what do you think next year's gonna look like?
Crazier than this year.
Okay, well that was a good answer. Not at all. Of course it's gonna be crazier than this year. Think about it. What do you think, Tori? What are we dreaming up next year? What's the first thing that comes to your head?
I mean, if we do a 2-day panel, I just think about all the ways that I could divide up AI to take up even a whole day of itself.
No, you don't get a full day.
I don't want a full day, but I'm just saying.
Hey, look, I mean, you can imagine Lockhart Champions being a week-long one day.
That's what
You could imagine that, right? TCPA Monday, AI Tuesday, data privacy Wednesday. Like, you could imagine this. And there's some people out there going, hell yeah, that sounds great. But we're not there yet. That's not going to happen next year. I can promise you that. Like, we're baby steps kind of outfit. Like, we never take on more than we can chew. We can go to a full week. But go ahead.
Oh, but I was just going to say, like even TCPA, 45 minutes
It's a crime.
45 minutes and then 45-minute panel, it just didn't feel like enough even for that. So I foresee it being a few days.
Suji, what do you think?
I think the 2-day format makes sense, given that we've already done, just our separate panel sessions, and now we've done having panelists. So I think marrying the two is probably a good idea. I think I will have to come up with something even more creative than my Shark Tank, and I will. Short answer is
I don't know, Pooja. I think Shark Tank is perfection.
Or maybe it's in the dunk tank look.
I think, but I think we have to get Veronica in next year. What do you think?
That's one thing, right? Is bringing in some of. I had heavy hitter painters.
Oh hell yeah!
Right?
Oh, dude, without question,
But
without question.
This may be, bringing in just like having the stage with Veronica for 45 minutes alone would be insanity.
Bringing Greenwald. I don't know.
Greenwald.
I don't know. We'll see.
There'll be something, but a 2-day format, I think. I don't want to say for sure, but I can foresee that happening.
Yeah, it's definitely not for sure. Nothing is for sure. We're just spitballing. What do you think, Britt? What do you think for next year?
Yeah, I agree with them because after I spoke with a few people, I think were some topics that were left out that we could definitely include for next year. So 2-day sessions is definitely doable, I think. Maybe different venue, maybe.
The venue's good though.
Venue's good.
That's the problem. It's a
But
good
bigger
venue.
and better.
Bigger and better. I'm gonna go to you last, Danny. Yasmin, what do you think? More singing, more dancers next year. I'm being honest.
Okay.
That's probably
I did musical theater, but I will leave that to someone else. I think what's most impressive is the caliber of what we've created with an 18-person staff.
Oh wow.
That is phenomenal to me.
And by the way, we're lawyers, and we don't do this full time, and we just do it on the side, like as a hobby. Yeah.
But not only doing this plus maintaining your existing caseload and not faltering on
It's
anything,
crazy.
that's wild.
It's crazy. It's like what we do is impossible. Like it literally makes no sense. The fact that we pull this off year after year, and the fact that we pulled it off at the scale we pulled it off at this year, it defies logic. It's only possible because every single person at this firm is 100% committed to executing and not letting anyone else down. It is a true team. Nobody wants to be the low performer. That is the only reason something like this could possibly happen. But for the future, what do you think, Yasmin? What are we going to do? What crazy nonsense are we going to dream up next year?
I mean, if you ask me to sing something else, I'm probably just not going to question. I'm probably just going to say yes.
All right, well, there you go.
This is not a contract.
Sounds pretty funny to me. I'm going to throw it to you last, Danny, because obviously whatever we dream up next year, you're going to have the primary responsibility for executing. So this will also be a binding contract.
Which is why I didn't want to comment, because like everything that I say, I'm gonna have to next
They're
year.
going to go back to tape.
I'm just gonna wait and see what
Put it in her head.
I'm thinking floats
You'll have to
covered
come
in
next
flowers is what I'm thinking. All right,
And the Rose Parade has got that covered.
fair enough. All right, well, I guess we'll just have to wait to see what happens next year. But in truth, I mean, you guys know we're never going to stop. We're never going to stop innovating. We're never going to stop pushing. I mean, people refer to us as disruptors. We're not disruptors. Disruptors go in there and they kind of shake a stick at something. And like, ooh, you should try and do it differently. Whatever, man. You disrupt. We're out here shifting paradigms. We're out here doing something that people have never done before, leading the way, and everybody else is looking at us thinking, how the hell are they pulling that off, right? This isn't disruption. This is evolution. And we are the ones who are on top of it from the start, and you are following along just like everybody else out there. We love all of you. I hope that you enjoyed the show. This ran long, I know. This was a little self-indulgent, but we earned it. We earned it. And we hope that you enjoyed that show and hope to see you next year. We love you. Bye, everybody.